I want to talk about something that we have been working on in this um, self-realization coaching community that I am facilitating. And this is a very interesting topic. At the same time, I feel very excited about sharing because it's like a blind spot for a lot of people. And that is this idea of ownership. And one particular message that I have to the world, anybody who is watching this YouTube, anything that I share to the world is truly about helping all of us understand who we are and what this human experience is from a spiritual point of view. So I have this sort of awakening and realization at the very early stage of my life. And somewhere inside of me knew that the invisible world is the foundation of life. And yet, nevertheless, because the five sensory physical world, what you can see, hear, smell, taste, touch, is very loud, and our attention tends to go there. The rational mind wants to focus on the tangible and the logical stuff, then we tend to give a spotlight to that. Then we begin dismissing the subtle energetic field. And when we understand that we are a spiritual being having a human experience, it means actually that we don't own anything, but we are temporarily renting while we are on this earth plane. So one of the things that I'm big on is this practice of embodiment. And embodiment is to really begin living what we know. So let's say this YouTube video, you sort of run into this video and then, oh, this guy is talking about something interesting and a little weird, right? And when people feel weird, I feel good about it because the more weird I am, the more I'm talking about something unconventional, which I think that's the layer that the truth lies because I think we're how the mass is living, which is the conventional way, is very limited in my point of view. And so let's look at the life that we're living from a material point of view, right? So you have your body that you think that you own. I mean, most people who are not awake enough per se assume that your body is you. And then if you assume that your body is you, the disintegration of the body, which we call death, becomes a loss. And because you cannot see, you cannot hear, you can touch, you feel suddenly very, very sad because you feel like you lost that person, that essence, even though the fundamental nature of that person can never disappear. But because you have overly identified the presence of that person through the body that you can see, now the body is gone and the person passed away, and you think that you feel that you lost somebody, right? That is the level of awareness that most people are living. And the after effect of that is when somebody pass away, we tend to say, "Oh, I'm sorry for the loss." Yeah. And for me, as much as I understand that people feel, emotions and pain in the body, in their in the feeling, I feel like people are creating their internal experience based on the illusion of the mind. And for some people, especially if you're going through something like that right now, this statement might sound harsh rather, but then my intention of delivering this message is to really help all of us understand that that experience inside of you, the pain, emotional pain, is coming from misunderstanding who we are. So I hope you can feel that, my intention is to not to be insensitive with anybody, but to help all of us become more aware so you can live a life of wholeness and completion right now, not later. Yeah. So that's a good example of the illusion of the ownership, right? first of all, you don't want to misunderstand that the body is you because it's your body. And your body is something that you have, but it's not something that you own forever. And it's temporary. Therefore, it means spiritually you're renting. Yeah. Now, what are the other areas that people tends to misunderstand and assume that they own something? Home, car, company, anything that you possess, iPhone, money, spouse, family, people think that they have, right? And it's part of them. It has become part of their identity. But notice the main reason that I wanted to come across this topic um, in a deeper way is that when we begin misunderstanding that we own our car, we own our house, we own our company, we own our whatever, the having, any having, we start creating this underlying feeling of attachment. And the attachment that comes from the misconception of ownership creates a lot of suffering for people. So it is about balancing how we are actually focusing on the physical realm and to understand that none of those things are something that we own or something that we have, but temporarily passing through to provide our experience that it's going to move through away from us. So the benefit and the value of this conversation of addressing the illusion of the ownership is that you actually stop getting attached to anything because the suffering that people experience comes from that attachment. And let's say, for instance, let's reverse this conversation, right? If you assume that you own something, when you don't have it, you start feeling worried and doubtful of not having it. But if you understand that we don't own anything and everything is temporarily moving through, passing through our life experience, then you can detach from having and you don't feel sad about or worry about not having. Does that make sense? And I want everybody to really understand how freeing that is and also understand that mental construct of assuming that we have something, we possess something, we own something is giving us all the emotions, stress, anxiety, or anything that you are creating in your storing of the mind based on that one illusion. Yeah. So the whole point of this conversation is to share the truth that I think that I'm benefiting from uh, experiencing, and also to provide avenues and perspective for people to remove their suffering and to begin living more with ease and flow and peace and happiness and um, the alignment with what is true. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of addressing all the illusions, mental construct, so we can free ourselves up from our own mind. And then we begin creating freedom through our mind. Many people are seeking love, happiness, peace is a huge one that I hear. And people tend to misunderstand that that can be acquired through our doing and having. But as long as we're attached to the idea in the mind, we will never experience that, but we're chasing another layer of freedom through the having and doing. It's a never ending cycle. So, I'm not saying that nothing wrong with having wanting more or to have a material gain, right? Based on the intention. But I think, why don't we experience that freedom right now by being non-possessive and to understand the illusion of the ownership and to know that we are a spiritual being gifted with this physical body and everything is moving to and through us temporarily and we're experiencing that passage of our having and doing while we enjoy this earth plane physical life experience. So I'm curious to know what kind of question you might have, anything that feels unclear to you, feel free to comment below. And we want to execute and practice the illusion of ownership by showing up differently when we, have a car, when you uh, feel attached to something, recognizing our own emotional reaction to life and to identify where it's coming from. It's always, most of the time, coming from the attachment of something. And then when you start transcending above that, you will know that the lack of things will start affecting less and less because it's not about that, right? When we get attached to the lack or be influenced by the lack, it's because there's a desire of having the attachment to that possession, the ownership of something. So we want to play with that feeling inside of us to maintain that state of ease and flow and peace. And then when you understand the laws of the universe, the more you start feeling in that energy of flow, actually, the more things that you want will be attracted towards you because now you're detached from the outcome. So practice that and let me know. See you in the next video.